I've only been to Sharm el-Sheikh in 1995, which was beautiful. The water was cold. I was there in December and the water was colder than I wanted, but it was absolutely beautiful. Incredible coral, incredible fish, wonderful diving. And otherwise I only know this place, which is Sataya, and in the center of Egypt, center south of Egypt, which is absolutely beautiful. The corals are not bleached. They're fantastic. The life is stunning. There's Picasso triggerfish, you have emperor angelfish, you have the oceanic white tip, which is becoming very, very rare all over the world. It used to be one of the most common animals in the world and it's now really endangered. And it's just absolutely stunning, and the most amazing thing we have here is the spinner dolphins, which are habituated to people, which are absolutely incredible and fun and interactive and beautiful. They're about 5 feet long, 4 feet long. They have some stripes on them. There are about 150 of them in the bay during the winter and about 250 in the summer. They're incredible. They sleep in the bay. The bay is protected, and they hunt squid at night, and they come to the bay to rest in the daytime. And people can come and visit them. Hundreds of dolphins. They let you close to them. Sometimes they play around with you. They interact with each other. There are mums and calves, which are fantastic, which play with each other. And usually in the big groups it's less interesting, because usually they're all doing the same thing and they're all sort of mirroring each other and swimming and not doing much else. But sometimes there's sort of breakaway groups of 5, 6, sometimes a few more animals that do more playing or mating and are more interactive with people, which is really fun. So I try and stay away from the big group, and I try to go to small sort of breakaway groups and photograph the playfulness, the mating and the interaction. If you're lucky, you'll have a dolphin stay with you for a minute or two, and even if you don't, just being with 50, 60, 100 dolphins is one of the most amazing things in the world. Really, truly incredible. So Sataya is amazing, and it's about a 5-kilometer long reef with a more northern area and a more southern area. And it's a small reef, but it basically creates cover for the dolphins, which come and rest here during the day. They go out off the reef at night to eat squid. In the day they nap, they play with each other, they interact with people when we go in with them. And usually we find them in the north. Sometimes we can't see them, sometimes you don't see them, sometimes the weather isn't so good, or the waves are higher and you can't see them, and sometimes they've chosen to be in the south of Sataya instead of the north. We try to find them every day, we don't always succeed. They're amazing. So just like for humpback whales in Tonga, my very favorite thing with swimming with dolphins and watching dolphins is the calves and the mothers, and the interaction between the two, the bond which is so strong, and the calves which are so sweet, and the mothers so protective and caring. So you can definitely tell that the dolphins come here to sleep in the daytime, because at night they eat squid off the reef, and then in the daytime they come to nap and interact here. And when they're sleeping, they don't interact with people very much. They just move all together as a group, as a pod. Sometimes there are some split away groups, but when they're sleeping, they really just want to sleep and travel. And you can't interact much with them. And you can actually tell they're sleeping because their eyes are either closed or half closed. But then when they wake up, they're much more fun to watch and swim with. And they sometimes interact with you, and they interact with each other, and they play fight. And the mothers nurse the calves, which are the most adorable things you've ever seen. Just like whales, the calves and the mothers have the most incredible interactions. That's my favorite thing to see. What's fantastic when they're awake is that they will play with you, they will let you close. They play with each other. Sometimes they slow down, because most of the time when they're asleep, you're just really swimming after them. You can't interact. They don't want to be with people. But when they wake up, they're often interactive. They play fight, they play. The mums and calves interact. It's the most beautiful thing to see. And you can really tell when they're asleep versus when they're awake, because when they're awake, they'll let you closer, they will sometimes play with you and play with each other, and when they're asleep, they usually just travel and keep on moving. And you can tell that they're not interested in people, sometimes not even interested in each other, and moving much faster and less fun to be with. May and December is when you find the most calves here. I usually come in November and December, which is still fantastic weather. I don't like cold water, so I love the fact that here it's 26, 27 degrees with beautiful coral when you go diving and amazing dolphins the rest of the time. And for me with the dolphins, the nicest thing is not the main group, which can be up to 150 animals, although they're split in several groups, but the main group usually they all do the same thing. They sleep in the daytime, they travel together, they swim together. It's the offshoots, it's the individuals that go off to play or go off to mate, interact with each other, and form small groups, small bands of males together. So another amazing animal we can find here is the dugong, a sea cow, which is 3 meters long, can weigh 400 kilos, and it spent its whole entire life either sleeping or eating, just sitting on the bottom of the ocean eating seagrass all day long. They have these really weird little nostrils which actually look like valves. They have these tiny, tiny beady eyes, a tiny ear hole in the back of them. On the second day of the dugong, we looked and looked and looked, and we couldn't find it for about an hour and a half. And then our wonderful guide Seymour found it, and we went diving with it. And unlike the day before, where there were 15 snorkelers and 4 other divers, which is very hard to photograph the dugong, we had the dugong to ourselves. We had 2 very old turtles come in at some point during the dive. The next dive we had 2 bottlenose dolphins, a mother and a calf, come in. But most of the time we were just watching the dugong eat and eat and eat and eat seagrass with its remoras hanging off it, coming up to breathe, going down to eat, and basically looking like half dolphin, half elephant, 3 meters long, 300 kilos, an eating machine. Just the most amazing thing to see, and you can't see them everywhere in the world. They're not manatees, which were in Florida. Dugongs are mainly in salt water, and they're slightly different. Their tail is different, their eyes are different. They have the same sort of lifestyle as manatees, but they look somewhat different. And the guy here that you have is just absolutely fascinating to dive with and be with and photograph. Egypt is also quite famous for sharks, and you have my favorite shark here, which is the oceanic white tip, which is amazing, can be about 3 meters long. They have very, very long pectoral fins, white tips on their fins and their dorsal fin, which is actually very different to the white tip reef sharks and other white tip or black tip sharks, because it's not a clear line that divides the tip from the rest of the fin. It's a sort of dégradé, it blends, the two colors blend together, and so you have this sort of dip in the white tip from the rest of the fin. They're interactive, they're beautiful, they're now extremely rare, unfortunately. They're down 90% of their numbers from the 70s in much of their range, and in parts of their range they're down to 3 or 7% of what they were. They're absolutely stunning to see, extremely elegant, beautiful, amazingly engineered, and they're my favorite sharks. The oceanic white tips are mainly in Brothers Island and also Elphinstone Reef. I've been to see them in Elphinstone. We had about 5 around us 2 years ago. They're very interactive with the divers, they're extremely curious. At one point we had a group of 7 or 8 divers, and the shark was literally inside the group circling people, looking at them for 2 or 3 minutes. I have not been to Brothers, but I hear there is also a lot of oceanic white tips at Brothers. They are just the most amazing sharks out there. They have a very bad reputation for no reason I can really think of. Sharks in general, since we actually kill 100 million sharks every year, and only 6 or 7 people are killed by sharks each year. To me, the oceanic white tips are just by far the most elegant and beautiful engineered sharks out there, having also seen silky sharks and black tips and tiger sharks and the rest. For all dolphins and whales, but also sharks, is that so many animals are endangered now. 30% of dolphin and whale species, 30 or more percent of shark species are endangered from fishing, from pollution, from climate change, and from so many other things. And so I think for this place, one of the most important things would be to establish more rules and enforce more rules on some occasions to make sure that the dolphins are more protected, or at least stay protected for the future. Because right now they seem pretty much fine. They're habituated to people. They all seem quite healthy. There's no scarring. You don't see any fins missing or anything like that. One would want to keep it that way, and one would want to make sure that the government and the guides and everyone respects them and make sure that they're protected for many generations to come.